Men, what's something hard about being a man that you wish women understood? I want to be taken on dates and splurged on too. I don't think any of my past girlfriends have ever taken me on a date. Everything is me catering to someone else. This was one thing that I was shocked that a lot of girls don't do for their men. I think it's one of those things where you have to be P. There are the selfish girls who think they should be treated like queens, but you should just be a servant. Then there are those who see you as someone special, not just someone to wait on them and buy them things and truly appreciate you. I love taking my boyfriend out on dates and spoiling him when I can. I also love doing little things to remind him I care about him and appreciate him, like when we get home from work, I'll ask if he wants back or leg rubs and I'll rent us a movie to watch while he just relaxes. He's always spoiling me 24/7, so he deserves to be spoiled just as much. Men need love and attention too. I'm still hanging on to the first compliment I ever got. I spent 2 years growing out my hair starting a little before COVID started. I was reluctant at first, but I like the way I look with long hair better than I do with short hair. Had a guy compliment my hair once at a restaurant a few months ago. Complete stranger, we were standing in line to order, and he literally just said, "Nice hair." Boom, core memory made my day. Never forgetting that. I wish people would compliment guys more. I understand why it doesn't happen as much. Women are worried it'll be interpreted as romantic advances, and guys are worried it might be weird, or especially in rural areas, come across as gay. I wish we could move past that, but that would require some core changes to a lot of people's beliefs first. I only get spoiled on Christmas and birthday, but I spoil him on those days too. Paying for every date and planning every date. Over the past 13 years, he took me out a few times in the early days. I now understand why some men get exhausted, or even bitter being expected to be the ones paying for all of the dates. I also go 50-50 on finances, and more than 50-50 on household chores, so it's not like I'm only paying and planning for the dates or something. Men can make it really hard. My guy wanted to be splurged on or surprised, but when you asked him what he wanted, he'd either buy it for himself, or he'd say he didn't want anything. If you bought him something on a guess or to get him to try something new, he either didn't like it or didn't touch it, but would be unhappy if you didn't do enough. It's exhausting. I'm not a mind reader. We need something to work with. My boyfriend buys himself things as well, so sometimes I'm not sure what to get him, so that's why I do things sometimes that don't involve money, the back rubs, or even giving him some time to just come home from work, relax, play a video game if he wants, or watch a show he wants to catch up on. It's not always material things. It could also be that your boyfriend's love language differs from what you would expect. For example, coming home to my boyfriend having cooked us a meal and cleaned up the kitchen makes me happier than a material gift would. With my boyfriend, his love language is mainly quality time and any sort of effort put towards showing him he's cared for. So I don't always have to get him a gift. I can just plan a date for us or make time during the weekend for us to both just spend time together and decompress after a long work week. So if I were you, I'd set your man down and say, "Listen, I love you, and I want to show you how much I appreciate you, but I'm not sure how. Can you help me understand what kind of things make you feel loved and appreciated?" When I express my feelings and you get upset, resolution is often found through making you feel better, neglecting my initial feelings. This results in a cycle of me not sharing how I feel for fear of your emotional hijacking the conversation. Just to clarify, this was meant to be a comment on what's something hard about being a man that you wish women understood. I have a wonderful relationship and am very much emotionally validated. But thank you Reddit relationship counselors for the DMs and advice. Also glad my comment was helpful to some and gave a different perspective to others. Communication is key. Talk often and share your emotions. Every woman I've ever been with has told me that they want me to always be open with them, express my feelings, tell them how I feel, and assured me that if I'm having a rough day I can come to them, and it's just simply not true. I think they say that because it sounds nice, but the reality is that the second I say, "Hey, this thing upset me," in my experience, women tell men that we shouldn't bottle up our feelings and that we should talk about our feelings with them, but then can't seem to handle it when we actually do, because they either brush it off and show no compassion, or even worse, they seem frustrated and get mad at us for it, which makes us think, well, that hurts, I won't do that again, and leads us right back to the old, you know what, I'll just keep bottling this up option. I think for so long the bottling up of emotions issue was seen as a male-only problem. Men did it because they were trying to be masculine, strong, stoic, etc. They were unable to get in touch with their emotions. Today men are called toxic for this, which just makes matters worse, because you don't get men to open up by insulting them. But when men started to feel it was okay to open up, women didn't realize that they had a role to play in this as well, that they need to be there to listen to their men. It's not a male-only problem. It's not inherent toxic masculinity, it's a human relationship issue, and it requires everyone in the relationship to be involved. My fiancé will tell me something I did or said hurt his feelings, and I have to remind myself that he's not attacking me, just simply trying to communicate. It's tough to unlearn it, but I'm trying to get better at hearing what he's saying and not what I'm hearing. But it's definitely something I've noticed a lot of women do, myself included, obviously. I hope that one day you find someone who will listen to you and not what they hear. As a woman, it pains me to hear this is something so common. I don't have many close people in my life to be aware of this, mind you, so please pardon my ignorance, but the people I do have, many of whom are men, tell me straight up how they feel, and I appreciate their honesty and vulnerability. You deserve to be heard, not admonished. Wishing you well. If it doesn't have to do with her, she's actually pretty helpful. Not in the give advice kind of way, but in the emotional validation aspect. I've noticed she tailors what she says based off who she is talking to, which can also be manipulative. Friend got drunk. Girlfriend said, it wasn't that bad. You were fine, to her friend who blacked out. She goes to me afterwards and says, she was a mess. She can't get it together. She couldn't walk talk. I had to keep her from choking on her tongue. And worst of all, I was just as bad, so it was the blind leading the blind. Real mature. She's also been helpful and supportive by helping me tweak my resume and things. But as soon as I try to bring up most things in our relationship, she reads into it and gets offended or defensive, and then lashes out. Once I asked for 10 minutes of time off her phone before bed so we could reconnect at the end of the day, and next thing I know we're in a conversation about how I have no friends because I don't go out to sports events or bars and have solo hobbies or interests. And so, when you punish a partner harshly for daring to stand up to your shy behavior, those incentives are reinforcing on both of you. The man is incentivized to permit bad behavior since standing up for himself receives even harsher punishment. And the woman is incentivized to keep reacting harshly to any unwelcome criticism, because the harsher she reacts, the less likely he is to say things she doesn't want to hear in the future. Men would absolutely act in the same way women do if given the chance. It's just men desire and compete for women more than the other way round. It's much easier to act shy towards your partner in a way that benefits you when you're assured that even if this person doesn't tolerate it, someone else will jump at the chance to step in their shoes. This has a snowballing effect across the entire dating pool. As more men sell out their boundaries for a chance at a mate, this increases the number of mates available for women who act shy, so more women can act shy. And when more women act shy, this leaves fewer women who don't act shy, so then even more men have to decide between being mateless or tolerating disrespect. It just keeps feeding back into it until you have a society-wide cultural norm. A father being with your baby in public and not having a place to change their diapers. Same when you have toddlers that already go to the toilet, and because you have little girls, you can't just bring them to the bathroom. Family bathrooms, where it's just one room with diaper station, toilet and sink separate from the other bathrooms exist, but there aren't enough. You're a parent, and you want to take care of your own children in every way. Going into the women's bathroom with your baby, or taking your little girl into the men's bathroom, or asking a strange woman to take your little girl into the woman's bathroom with her, all aren't good. I think it's okay if men go into the women's bathroom with their baby, or take their kid to the men's, but it's not ideal, and it would be so much better to have a family bathroom everywhere. I remember when I was very young, Dad took me everywhere with him. just the two of us. When I had to go to the bathroom, he'd pick me up and make me rest my eyes against his neck so he could carry me in the men's room to a stall. He then proceeded to line the toilet seat with about 3 layers of toilet paper so I'd be protected against gross man. But I guess, what a fun memory that just came back to me. Thanks. My poor dad had to put up me literally not being able to go into the men's room because I locked up. I was too intimidated. So my dad put on his brave face, marched into the women's room with me in tow, and explained to anyone giving him a look, "She doesn't want to use the gross men's room. I'll be here until she's done," and stood guard back facing the stall door. There was like 2 other women in there also with young girls my age, so they at least were understanding. It sucks that there's not changing tables in men's rooms though. That's ridiculous. Maybe it was cause it was the early 2000s. But I don't remember my dad getting hounded to bat about needing to take me into the women's room cause he was just my dad doing a dad thing. I don't think it actually ever fazed him either. Just a gruff, wife's at home dad and daughter day out, until I was old enough to go in by myself. Our urge to try to fix the problems of those we care about. If you are venting about something that happened or someone stressed you out, our brains go into fix-it mode. Often, my wife has to pre-warn that she doesn't want solutions, but just an ear to vent to. It can also be hard to be the person your partner vents to, as venting is usually about negative things, so you start to associate a large part of your interactions with your partner as having a negative connotation. My partner comes home stressed about their day, dumps it on me, then goes and takes a nap. It's unpleasant, and I don't look forward to their coming home. I was with my ex-wife for 16 years, and the last 5 or so saw a radical shift in our relationship. We'd had our first child by then, which I'm sure impacted things, but we definitely devolved into roommates. I think I dissociated a lot during the separation and divorce. She was having an emotional affair with a male coworker and eventually moved in with him, and as a result, I don't remember much of her or our life together. I definitely do remember feeling exactly the same way. I had to psyche myself up while making my 45-60-minute commute home every evening. I knew I'd have an avalanche of interpersonal drama unloaded onto me, and every instinct I had telling me I needed to try to help fix things did nothing but perpetually frustrate me. She didn't want help, she didn't want to fix things. She didn't want to make changes to improve her relationships at work or her mood as a result. She just wanted to word vomit all the bitterness and toxicity and then go do something else. I'm not sure if she lacked the self-awareness to see how destructive it was, but I pleaded with her many times and told her how it impacted me. I believe now, after all these years, she saw me as a utility and a servant, not a friend, partner, or lover. It didn't start that way, which is why I think it was so difficult for me to understand. Nothing had changed for me about the way I felt about her, and when we fell in love things were different. I suppose it could be as simple as me wanting her to stay the same and her wanting me to change. I'm sorry you're experiencing this. The loss of my family and my wife was the most painful thing I've ever endured, and I didn't realize how long it took to happen. Struggling to understand why I was no longer important or worthy of the love, care, and attention was a never-ending siege, and the clarity I now possess took a winding path to develop. Transitioning to a relationship that yielded genuine desire and appreciation was eye-opening. That relationship didn't last, but I kind of accepted that romantic love would end up making me feel how I did the last few years in my marriage. Maybe I'd end up feeling that way if I spent 16 years with my ex-girlfriend, but it was refreshing to remember what it was like to having a conversation about an issue and constructively work on it. It was refreshing. I hope you're able to work on this issue with your partner. First-hand experience dictates it likely won't get better, and your ability to absorb it probably won't improve. We need to feel needed too. As a woman, I hate to admit that it's taken me a long time to fully appreciate this. I wish I would have understood it in depth much sooner. It would have saved me and my husband a lot of grief in our marriage. That feeling when you're standing there doing dishes, or cooking or whatever, and she comes up, hugs you from behind, and gives a kiss on the neck. We men appreciate that so much more than you ever imagine. We are used to give physical affection to the one we love, because we secretly want some of the same done to us as well. We are just really bad at expressing it. Just like women still often gets raised with that be a good girl, which can really ruin many in the bed, we men are raised to bottle up emotions and to not express desire, to want things like hugs and such. I'd replaced needed with desired. My soul loves me, but physically, she is completely uninterested. And it's not intentional, it's just that S3 Zool attraction doesn't even enter her brain. There is no circumstance under which she would initiate any S3 Zool contact of any kind. This leads to me feeling uncomfortable asking because I feel creepy. We've been together 6 years, and the only time anything physical occurs is when I ask. There's never a moment that leads naturally into something S3 Zool. Women, I cannot explain to you how uns3 and unmotivating it is to have to ask, hey babe, do you think we could have S3X tonight? I am happily married 17 years, but still yearn for my wife to spoil me and desire me as much as I do her. I want to feel what that feels like. I don't keep a checklist of what I do versus her, certainly not. But man, I wish she felt the same way I feel about her. I only get what I want when I ask for it. I want her to know what I want, which I have communicated very clearly, even wrote it down for her, and for her to care about it without me asking for it. Being desired is what I want, because I desire her happiness immensely, and love meeting her needs and satisfying her pleasures. My ex-wife never made me feel legit needed. She expected me to do everything. I cooked, cleaned, worked 3 jobs, drove her to work, listened to her vent, helped her parents moved halfway across the country. If I slacked, she would give me tea because she would have to do it. Never felt needed but expected. We divorced after my Navy career ended due to medical discharge. I was a wreck about losing my dream job. Came back to her wanting to leave me. I powered through that divorce and found my girlfriend through language exchange. She was from Russia. Despite distance, she made me feel needed and wanted. I loved her so much more than anyone else. We were together for a while, were planning on closing the distance, and as it got closer, she broke up with me after cheating on me. I've had a few dates after, but they didn't go well. It's been over a year since we broke up, and I've never felt like that since. I miss her a lot. Now, as all my friends are getting married, I'm single, and just want to feel that again. Hell, even a hug or a kiss. Feeling like you are unwanted hurts like hell. To me, needed isn't cool, because a need is like air and water. Need means I want to have this around, because my health and well-being depends on it. Want means I don't have to have you around. But you're pretty great, so I choose to have you here, and want you here. That just seems like a more attractive prospect. In 2022, nobody needs a man around. Want, if it's the right person? This is what I tried to explain to my husband, and he got really hurt by it. I just wanted him to understand that I want him around, not need him around. Just as I want to hear, wanted, not needed. When I hear him say, I need you here with me, it makes me feel as though I am there, because I take care of the kids, make sure the bills are paid, do the dishes, make sure that there is food in the house and on the table, while also working a full-time job. Not because he wants my company and companionship. He may mean companionship and company and love. But it's not how I feel when he says he needs me around. Just my opinion. Being a proper father to my daughter. Get looked down on by mothers at school for taking my daughter to school. Alone with my daughter, taking her to the park. Always get looked at as some sicko by mothers. Too much trouble for her mother to do anything for her. She now an ex-wife and no longer in contact with my daughter. Daughter now grown up and living with me. This is something that I experienced a few years ago when I suddenly became a widowed father to 2 children, 4 years old and 7 years old at the time. Taking my then young daughter to her ballet performance, being nervous, she wanted support beforehand in the green room type of setup, and the whole place was full of mothers, and I was the only man there. I got asked several times to leave by different mums, as it wasn't for dads out here. Can't her mum come in? My poor stepdad collected so many dirty looks while being a good dad to me. The older I got, the more likely that we'd both get dirty looks, and that actually made him angry on my behalf. I understand that we look absolutely nothing alike. I'm short and pale while he's tall and dark. But families look all sorts of ways these days, and he got really annoyed at people when I started catching the filthy looks too. was at the plaza waiting for a bus after college one day when he happened to drive by, so stopped to give me a lift wherever I was going. I was so happy that it took a minute to register that he was suddenly furious, and when I asked he kind of sputtered or growled, "They think you're a prostitute. Mom died when I was only 20 years old, but I kept coming around to check up on stepdad, and he kept doing his best to be a good dad to me." When he complained about all the women bothering him at the grocery store while he was still grieving, offered to go with him to deter the ladies. Stepdad is the sort of person who is well known everywhere he goes, so all through our shopping trips, he went out of the way to introduce me as his daughter to every single person who said hi to him in passing. There is a point in every man's life when they have their feelings hurt, look for help, realize that nobody cares, suck it all up, and become remarkably stoic. That about sums it up. Mid-20s, burnt out and stressed at work, crying in my car, angry, constantly stressed about my house, etc. Tell my wife and she be chase about the house, making me feel shameful about not making enough, so I just stopped talking and kept my head down. It to clarify, because my wife's not evil. We both had desires to move out of our first house, but it wasn't really in the budget. I was in a shitty situation at work, and it got to me. I vented about it. Later, my wife kept bringing up shitty about wanting to move and not liking the house. That got me stressed out and feeling like a failure, because I felt like I should be doing better than I was. Years later, we are doing much better still together, but that was one of the very few times I've ever opened up, and I don't really do it face to face because nothing positive came of it, and having it out there made it more hurtful when she was saying her own frustrations. As a man, I want to feel strong, valuable, and appreciated, but I feel like none of those things. I don't feel strong. I'm an anxious wreck and I'm about to collapse any second. I can only see my therapist every 6-8 weeks. When I'm vulnerable, I get made fun of, ignored, coddled, or told to get over it. I don't feel valuable. I feel like an incompetent idiot at whatever I do. I don't feel as if the world really needs me. I work a pay job at a revolving door company and I still live with my parents and hate it. I feel like a burden. I don't feel appreciated. I'm not needed by anyone. When people do appreciate me for some reason, I get intensely uncomfortable, as if I don't deserve it. I desperately crave intimacy, but I'm scared of it. I don't know how I'd function in a relationship. I'd be scared I'd just be used. I'm 24, and I haven't even been kissed. I get ignored on dating apps. It's just a constant reminder that I'm inadequate. I know the normie Reddit answer is, well, just stop wanting those things, but I don't think it's that simple. I don't think we're meant to accept mediocrity. I think we're meant to become something greater than ourselves. I want to strive towards greatness. Many men do, but they need more support than they're currently getting. I used to work in one of those shitty revolving door big box stores, if I may. Get yourself a trade job, something that you are making something with your hands, construction, welder, electrician, plumber, or even a roofer. A good business will pay you a decent wage, and you'll get a ton of hours. Do this for a while, build up a nest egg, and use this time to get an idea what you want to do with your life, then go do it. It's what I did after I walked in on my ex-wife in bed with 2 guys. I got a traveling road paving job, and it took about a year. But I'm doing so much better now. The satisfaction of seeing a job well done can't be overstated. If you just need to talk, DM me anytime.